Thank you for tuning in to our second series of Breadcrumbs podcast with me, your host, Barbara Smith. Gather around with your little ones because it's kids' story time. Hello, everyone, moms and dads, boys and girls, and everyone that's watching from around the world. Thank you for joining me today. I've come to tell you today that lying is never a good thing. We should never lie. The Bible tells us that all of the sins that we do will be found out. Sometimes we lie and we think we're going to get away with it, but we will not get away with it. The Bible also teaches us that we will not get to go to heaven if we are liars and if we do not repent of our sins and our lies. I just want to read you a story today that was written in the 1800s. That's over 100 years ago, a long, long time ago, and maybe you've already heard it. Maybe your mom and dad have read it to you, but it kind of shows what we're talking about here about lying. And the name of this story is called Pinocchio. Long ago in Italy, there lived an old clockmaker named Geppetto. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock went all of the clocks in his shop. When he worked, Geppetto felt happy, but when he rested, a sad feeling came over him. He thought to himself, all my life, and I have no children of my own. One day, Geppetto carved a puppet from wood in the shape of a boy. The arms and the legs could move, and he cut this and sewed a little beautiful outfit for the puppet as if it was a real boy. I will call you Pinocchio, he said, and that night Geppetto laid the wooden puppet down onto a bed. From out of the window a big star twinkled. It twinkled bright, and Geppetto looked out and said, Bright star, if I could have but one wish, it would be that I could have a real boy of my own. But of course he knew it was not possible. That night the same big star swooshed right down into Geppetto's room. It changed into a beautiful blue fairy, and the blue fairy flew over to the bed. Little wooden puppet, said the blue fairy, in the morning you will be able to walk and talk like a real boy. She tapped the puppet with her wand once, and she said one more thing. As Pinocchio opened his eyes, suddenly a cricket appeared, and he was dressed mighty fine, and he could talk too. Meet the cricket, said Blue Fairy. He will stay with you and help you make wise choices. And with that the Blue Fairy went swish and was gone. She had told him that someday he could be a real boy. Out of the window she went, and when Geppetto woke up in the morning, he said, I will go take the puppet out of the bed. But the bed was empty. Here I am, father, said Pinocchio from the other side of the room, and Geppetto swung around and said, What? You can talk? Yep, said Pinocchio, your boy. How can this be? Said Geppetto in shock. Then he said, But who cares? He rushed over and swept the wooden puppet into his arms. Pinocchio, my son. And he was so happy and glad. One day, Pinocchio said, I want to go to school like the other boys, father. Of course, said Geppetto, but he did not have money to buy school books. Later that day, Geppetto came back home with school books, and he said, Now you can go to school too. But father, said Pinocchio, where is your warm coat? With a wave of his hand, Geppetto said, No worries. No need to worry about that. What matters is that you can go to school tomorrow. And he did not want Pinocchio to know that he had traded his warm coat in for the school books. The next morning, Pinocchio said goodbye to Geppetto. He skipped along to the school path, humming as he went. The cricket rode on his shoulder, happy too. Coming up to them on the path was a fox and a cat. And where are you going on this fine day? Said the fox. I am going to school, said Pinocchio. On such a fine day as this, said the fox, it is too nice of a day to be stuck inside the schoolhouse. You should come with us to the fair. Listen to me, said the fox. He put his arm around Pinocchio's shoulder. Anything you need to know, you can learn at the fair. Really, said Pinocchio. Take it from me, said the fox. Pinocchio, said the cricket, he does not know what he's talking about. The fox covered the cricket up with his hat so that no one could hear the little cricket. Okay, said Pinocchio, let's go to the fair. and off they went. And what a fair it was! By the gate there was a man dressed in white. He called out, come in, right this way. Get your tickets here." With a sad look, Pinocchio said to the fox and the cat, "I do not have tickets." And the man was selling things at the side table, and he said, "Hey, you, sell me your new books, and I will give you money for your tickets." The fair was so bright and colorful and exciting, and the next thing Pinocchio knew, he had sold the school books for tickets. "No, Pinocchio, stop!" called the cricket, who finally got out from under the fox's hat. But Pinocchio, the fox, and the cat did not hear him. They were already inside the fair. On the stage was a puppet show. "I'm a puppet too," said Pinocchio. "I can dance like that." And he jumped onto the stage and started to dance with the other puppets. "Look at the new puppet," somebody called. "It has no strings." "No strings," said another. "Amazing." Everyone laughed, and they threw coins on the stage, and the man who ran the fair saw coins flying onto the stage. "Well now," he said, rubbing his chin. Chinny chin chin. "This puppet with no strings will make me rich." The next thing Pinocchio knew, he was picked up and thrown into a bird cage. In the next moment, the door was locked shut. "Hey, get me out of here," called Pinocchio. But the person who had thrown him in just left the room. Only the cricket heard Pinocchio's calls. The cricket ran back and forth in front of the bird cage, trying to find a way to free the lock, but he could not unlock it. "I am stuck," said Pinocchio. "How did this happen to me?" All of a sudden, poof! There was the Blue Fairy. "Please," said Pinocchio, "can you help me?" "Tell me something first," said the Blue Fairy. "How did you get inside this cage?" "Tell her what happened," said Cricket. Well, Pinocchio stopped. Could he really tell the Blue Fairy what had really happened? What would she think of him? I was robbed," said Pinocchio. "Is that right?" the Blue Fairy said with a frown, and Pinocchio's nose began to grow. "Yes, I was robbed by 2 mean men. No, 4 mean men." The nose grew even more. "They took my books. They made me come here, and they threw me into this cage." His nose grew even longer and longer until Pinocchio could not see anything in front of his face but only his big giant nose. "Why is my nose so big?" Pinocchio cried out. "Pinocchio," said the Blue Fairy in a stern voice, "you must know what the truth really is." "I guess so," said Pinocchio. "I wanted to come to the fair. I came here with the fox and the cat." His nose grew a little smaller. "I had to sell my books to get the tickets." "Had to?" said the Blue Fairy. I decided to sell the books to get the tickets," he said, and the nose grew shorter even still. "Then someone put me in this cage," he said, and the nose grew shorter right back to normal. "Good job, Pinocchio," said Cricket. "Well done," said the Blue Fairy. "Now I will get you out of here because you have told the truth." With the wave of her wand, Pinocchio was out of the cage. "Here are your books." And Pinocchio was holding the same new books in his hands again. "Know this," said the Blue Fairy, "you are on your own from now on. Make sure that you always do the right thing and always tell the truth next time," she said, and then she was gone. Pinocchio was back on the road to school, and a coachman drove up. "Hey, kid, would you need a ride?" "Oh, no, thank you," said Pinocchio. "I'm going to school." "You'll get to school faster," said the coachman, "if I give you a ride." Pinocchio said, "All right, I want to get to school right away." When Pinocchio was inside the coach, the coachman said, "Say, kid, why do you think boys like you go to school?" "To learn things," says Pinocchio, "and to grow up, I guess, so we can do what we want." "Well," said the coachman, "what if I told you that you could do that right now, all that you wanted?" "Right now?" Pinocchio said. "Yep, think of it. Skip the books, skip the school, right now. How you would like to have all the candy in the world. How about that? All the candy?" "Yep, ice cream too, of every flavor." "Ever want to smoke a cigar or play pool? All this and more. You can go to Pleasure Island and have all of this. Pleasure Island, said Pinocchio. Best place in the world for the boys like you, he said. Don't listen to him, Pinocchio, shouted the cricket. Why wait, said the coachman. I know just where Pleasure Island is. This is your lucky day, kid, so what do you say? Okay, let's go, said Pinocchio. I'll go with you to Pleasure Island. Oh, said the cricket, waving his arms in the air. After a while, the coach stopped. You got a boy with you in there, in that coach? Said a dark stranger to the coachman. Yep. The coachman grabbed Pinocchio and threw him out onto the ground. He's all yours. Now pay up. The coachman reached out for something, which was probably money, from the dark stranger, and then the coachman drove off. What could it mean? But as Pinocchio looked around, he no longer even cared, for everything the coachman had told him was true. Heaps of candy all over the place, tubs of ice cream in every flavor. Boys like him could eat and eat and eat, play and play and play all day. None of them had to work or clean up, and there were even cigars if they wanted one and pool tables to play at. But after a few days, something was odd. Where did the boys go? He asked Cricket. All I see now are donkeys, said Pinocchio. I must say, there used to be more boys around here, said Cricket. Just then one of Pinocchio's ears popped out as a donkey's ear, and then his other ear popped out as a donkey's ear too. Oh no, cried Cricket. I know what's happening. It's happening to you. I don't know what's happening. Onk, 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 said Pinocchio. Pinocchio and Cricket saw the line of donkeys led by the dark stranger onto a truck. Oh no, Cricket. Now I get it. All of the boys are turning into donkeys here, and then the donkeys are being sold. Pinocchio, we have to get you out of here fast while we still can. Let's go, onk, onk, said Pinocchio. His 2 feet had popped out into 4 legs, like a donkey. Run quick, said Cricket. One good thing about Pinocchio's new 4 legs, he could run very fast. Quick, quick. They ran out of the Pleasure Island. Soon they were at the dock by the ocean. Please, sir, Pinocchio called out to the man by the dock, I am looking for an old man named Geppetto. Do you know him? Honk, honk. Sounds like you're getting a bad cold, said the old man. Geppetto? That's the old man whose son left him one morning and never came back. He went out on a boat to look for him, and no one has seen him since. Poor old fellow. Oh no, this is all my fault, honk, honk, said Pinocchio. I must look for my father. Pinocchio jumped into the dock and into the ocean. The cricket jumped in too, close behind. Most of Pinocchio was still made of wood, so he could float on the ocean. Father, father, he called out, paddling the water with his arms. Father! But there was no answer. All Pinocchio could see around him was blue water everywhere, until what was that far away, rushing up to him, coming in fast and huge? In a moment a giant whale was upon them. It opened his giant jaws and with one gulp swallowed Pinocchio and Cricket. When they came to a stop, they saw that there was a dark belly around them, the belly of the whale. Are you okay? Said Pinocchio to Cricket. I am fine, said the voice of an old man. Wait a minute, said Pinocchio. Father, is that you? There was Geppetto. Father, father, it's me, said Pinocchio. Oh, my son, said Geppetto, I thought I was dreaming. They hugged each other in joy. Look, said Geppetto, at these 3 fish that are swimming by. That's going to be our supper. Father, I have an idea. Let's make a fire. Grilled fish for tonight, said Geppetto. No, I mean for us to get out, said Pinocchio. He gathered driftwood and got a flame going. This is how we can make the whale sneeze. Pinocchio waved his arms over the flame to make a lot of smoke. Soon clouds of black smoke was rising. The whale gave a cough "Hang on," said Pinocchio, and then in one big sneeze, Pinocchio, Geppetto, and the cricket flew out of the whale's mouth, rolling over and over in the sea water. At last they rolled over so many times they rolled onto the shore. "Pinocchio, Pinocchio!" Geppetto rose to his feet, calling for him. The cricket was there beside him, but where was Pinocchio? And then they found him. Pinocchio was face down, his head in a puddle. "Pinocchio!" They were too late. Geppetto and the cricket wept over Pinocchio, the boy puppet who lay still in the water. Then in a flash, who was there by their side? The Blue Fairy. "Pinocchio," she said, "you saved your father. You proved that you are both brave and true." She tapped his head with her wand, "and now you will be a real boy." Pinocchio woke up. He looked at his soft arms and his soft legs. He was so excited. "Father," he cried out, "look, I'm a real boy now." "That you are," said Geppetto. The Blue Fairy turned to the cricket and said, "Come, let us go." And she said with a flash, "Bye-bye." And the two of them were gone. Pinocchio and Geppetto leaped and jumped and danced for joy, and they lived many happy, happy years together. That is the story of Pinocchio. He wasn't very truthful at first. He wasn't a very good puppet boy at first. He had to learn some lessons along the way and learn to be truthful and learn to be good. And once he did that, then the Blue Fairy turned him into a real boy. We know this is just a story, but the same is true for us. If we always tell the truth, we always do the right thing, we will be blessed and we will have good and happy things come to us in our lives. I hope you enjoyed this story about Pinocchio and that you'll join me again next time and that you have a wonderful day. Until then, bye-bye. Thank you for stopping by. That's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share with your friends. Until next time, bye-bye.